What's going on, guys? It's NYPrepper here. Just wanted to do a quick wilderness survival tip for you guys. And I'm out here on my property and I'm looking at the stars right now. I wish you guys could see how beautiful the stars are here at night. It's one of the awesome benefits of living in a country area is you can look up at the sky and see all these beautiful stars. I remember growing up on Long Island, I could barely see like 2 or 3 stars. I didn't even see stars until I moved up here when I was a teenager. It's such a blessing to be able to see this every night. But I wanted to give you guys a quick wilderness survival tip, okay? So right now we have an Arctic front coming through, and it kind of inspired me to make this video. So if you're in a survival situation, whether it's after SHTF or even now during rule of law, if you find yourself in a situation where you get lost in the forest or in the mountains, or if it's post SHTF, you could be bugging out, I want to share a very important survival tip with you guys that a lot of guys overlook. I haven't seen many people on YouTube talking about it, so I figured I would mention it. And if you guys can hear, you hear that wind? I don't know if you could hear the wind or not. We got a strong wind coming in right now, and that's that Arctic front coming down from Canada. We got probably a good 30 to 40 mile per hour wind right now, and it's blowing the trees around like crazy. And so the survival tip that's really, really important that a lot of people overlook is take a guess. It's paying attention to your wind, okay? Pay attention to your wind direction, most importantly, okay? You want to know what direction the wind is coming from, because that's going to tell you what kind of temperatures to expect, all right? So like right now, it's been here in upstate New York, it's been in the 50s and 60s the last 2-3 days. Actually, yesterday it made it up to 66 degrees, and it was beautiful and sunny and warm, and the birds were coming out, all right? But if, let's say, I was in the wilderness and I was lost in the mountains, or if it was post SHTF and I was bugging out, or I was on some kind of a long-range reconnaissance patrol and I was out for a couple of days, you know, I would get the impression that because it was warm and in the 60s that it's going to be like that for the next few days, okay? But after the grid goes down, or if you're in a survival situation, you're not going to be able to go on your phone and check AccuWeather.com and see what's going on in the next couple of days. You're not going to be able to check the weather. Now, you could have a weather radio or a ham radio, and you could tune into your local NOAA station, okay? There's multiple NOAA stations in every state, and they do round-the-clock weather forecasts, especially marine forecasts as well. So if you're going out into the woods, you should carry a ham radio or a weather radio and have it charged up, and have a battery pack in your pack so you can recharge it if it runs out. And the reason why that's important is because you're not going to be able to tell the weather. So, for example, it was 65 degrees 2 days ago, and tonight it's supposed to go down to 15 degrees, okay? So if I wasn't prepared for that and I didn't bring warm clothing, I would have no idea that the temperature is going to drop like that tonight. And that's where paying attention to the wind is so important, okay? Because the wind is going to tell you what the weather is going to do, okay? What kind of temperatures to expect, what kind of fronts are coming in. So for example, right now we're getting a strong northwest wind, okay? In my part of the country, in the Northeast, when there's a northwest wind, especially a strong northwest wind, that means that there's a cold front coming through, okay? And if there's a cold front coming through, especially between November and April, that means that you have some Arctic air coming in behind it, all right? Now, if I didn't know that, and I was out in the woods and I noticed the wind was picking up, and it's still pretty warm right now. It's probably like around 40 degrees, okay? But you know, by tomorrow, the temperatures are barely going to get above freezing. And then tomorrow night, it's going to go down into the teens. All right. And so you need to pay attention to your wind direction. All right. It's always going to tell you what kind of fronts are coming through and what's happening with the weather. Okay. Same thing. If you have a southwest or southeastern wind, typically that means you're going to have a warm front, or you're going to have some kind of tropical air mass coming in, especially here in New York. When we get winds from the southeast in the summertime, that usually means that there's some kind of a tropical air mass moving in. And typically, if there's like a strong wind coming from the southeast, that's typically some kind of a tropical storm or tornado, not tornado, hurricane coming in. All right. So know what your wind directions are, especially in your part of the country, but pretty much any part of the country. If you have a northern wind, that usually means that the temperature is going to be dropping. Okay. No matter where you are, if you're in the plains, if you're in the northeast, if you're in the south, if you're on the west coast, typically a north wind, whether it's from the northwest or the north or the northeast, typically that's a sign that you have an Arctic front or a cold front coming through. Okay. And if it's in the winter time and you have a strong northwest wind, like right now, we have, 20, 30, 40 mile per hour winds, and they're coming out of the northwest. That's a huge indication of an Arctic air mass moving in. So that would be my first indication that I need to get ready for some dropping temperatures. Okay, I need to think about how I'm going to keep warm. I'm going to think about building a fire. I'm going to think about building a shelter to insulate my body heat if the temperature is going to drop so suddenly like that. All right. So know your wind directions and be cognizant of your wind directions when you're out there in the woods and you're hunting or hiking or whatever you're doing. Be cognizant of wind directions. It's very, very important. Okay. And in addition to that, you obviously want to know your directions, north, south, east, west. You're going to want to know how to tell where north is, where south is, where east and west is. All right. Because if you can't tell where north is, you don't know your bearings, then how are you going to know where the wind is coming from? So the best way to do that is being able to find the North Star. Okay. And I've done videos on how to find the North Star. It's very straightforward. All right. You just have to be able to find the Big Dipper. And once you find the Big Dipper, you look at the outer two stars on the bowl, and the outer two stars will point towards the North Star. And the North Star is the last star on the handle of the Little Dipper. Okay, so the Little Dipper and the Big Dipper are opposite of each other in the sky. And the outer two stars on the Big Dipper will always point to the North Star. All right, and the North Star is true north. All right, it's more accurate than your compass, actually. And you have to always remember that compasses have magnetic north, which is not always the same as true north. Okay, here in New York, the magnetic north with a compass is off between 13 to 15 degrees from true north. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind, but be able to find the North Star. If you can't find the North Star because it's cloudy, then you want to pay attention to where your sun is rising and where your sun is setting. Sun rises in the east and sets in the west. All right, so you can use that. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. I got many more videos to come, so stay tuned to my channel. I'm going to do a lot more survival videos. I saw you guys wanted me to do more survival videos, so I'm going to start doing those over the next few months. Okay, but this is a very important thing. You always want to be cognizant of your winds, where they're coming from, what direction. And you want to be able to quickly find your bearings without a compass, okay? Using the North Star, using the heavens, okay? Using the constellations, okay? You also have Orion's belt. You can use Orion's belt to find north, okay? Orion's belt points towards the North Star and it points in a northern direction, all right? In the wintertime, we call it, here in New York, we call it the North Arrow, because when you look at the Orion's belt, it forms kind of like an arrow, and it points towards the north, okay? So be able to read the stars and the heavens and use that, okay, for your navigation purposes if you're lost, if you don't have a compass. And then from there you can figure out your wind directions, and the wind directions will tell you what kind of weather to expect, okay? Are we getting an Arctic front? Are we getting a hurricane? Are we getting thunderstorms? Are we going to get a warm air mass? Okay, if the wind is coming from the south, that typically means a warmer air mass, a warm front. Okay, if it's coming from the north, then we're going to be expecting some type of a cold front, especially if it's coming from the northwest, okay? So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.